Hare Krishna. So Krishna has elaborately spoken about Kshetra, that is the field of activities, Kshetrajya, the knower of the field of activities, and after that he has spoken about the process of acquiring knowledge. So all these things we have discussed elaborately now. So now let's get into another very important topic which Arjuna had asked, that is the object of knowledge. So from shloka number 13 going up till 19th shloka, 18th shloka, Krishna is going to speak about these wonderful descriptions about the object of knowledge. So let's begin from shloka number 13. Yeyam yattat pravakshyami yajñātvāmritam ashnute anādimat param brahma na sattanna saduchyate. So here Krishna is saying that Jneyam yattat pravakshyami. I shall now explain. Explain what? The knowable. That is the object of knowledge. And then he says Yat Jnatva amrutam ashnute. And after knowing this, you will be tasting amrita, that is nectar, or that which is eternal. Anadi mat param brahma. Now he is saying that Brahma, that is the spirit soul, anadi is beginningless, and mat param, and is subordinate to me. And then he says nasat tat nasad uchyate, and he lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. So here basically what Krishna is doing is describing the living entity, and then after that he starts describing about the super soul. So the object of knowledge are only two. First is the spirit soul, and second is the super soul. So let's see some of the important points from the purport. The Lord has explained the field of activities, the knower of the field. He has also explained the process of knowing the knower of the field of activities. Now he begins to explain the knowable, first the soul and the super soul. By knowledge of the knower, both soul and super soul, one can relish the nectar of life. Actually, when we understand about spirit soul, that is ourself, and the super soul, that is Paramatma, and our relationship between basically the soul and the super soul. So what happens? Because of that relationship which is re-established, which was forgotten before, now it's re-established, the spirit soul revives that relationship, and by that he is able to break the cycle of birth and death and go back home, back to Godhead. So it's like tasting the nectar, because when he goes back home, back to Godhead, what will happen? He will attain an eternal state, eternal position. So it said, it's nectar to understand about the soul and super soul. Now, as explained in the second chapter, the living entity is eternal. Now, this is a very important point to note. We have discussed elaborately in second chapter. Huge set of verses were there where we were discussing about the nature of the soul. Now, as we all know, when it comes to Jivatma, that is soul, it is eternal. It cannot be destroyed by any means, by fire, water, air, whatever. It cannot be destroyed. When the body keeps changing, soul remains the same. We saw in that shloka, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namoyati. So the body is changing from boyhood to youth to old age, but the spirit soul remains the same throughout. And when the body becomes useless or invalid, it changes and goes to, or it changes the body going to another body. So this is a very important point to note, that the body is temporary, but the spirit soul is permanent. And this understanding is very important here when we're discussing about the first object of knowledge. And also another thing, we know very well that spirit soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna himself says, Mamai vamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. Now, when we are his part and parcel, then maybe there might be some time when we got separate, when we got detached from Krishna or something like that, or we were created by Krishna at some point of time. The answer to this is it cannot be traced. It cannot be traced that when the Lord created the living entities. So in Shastra, very clearly it is said that Krishna and the living entities, they existed simultaneously from eternity. So we cannot trace the point where this particular incident happened. So here, the spirit soul is called as beginningless. We cannot trace back the beginning. This is what is the point that is made. And then here it is said, Na jayate mriyate va vipaschit from Katha Upanishad. The knower of the body is never born and never dies, and he is full of knowledge. Because what is the Swarupa of the spirit soul? Sat, Chit and Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. That's what is the Swarupa of the spirit soul. And that's why the spirit soul has these wonderful qualities. Now here, about the Supreme Lord is mentioned as Super Soul. Now what is mentioned here? Pradhana Kshetragya Patir Guneshah, the chief knower of the body and the master of the three modes of material nature. See, we all are knower of the bodies. We are Kshetragya. So we are there in our whatever body is assigned to us. But when it comes to the Super Soul, Paramatma, he is the super knower, chief knower. He knows about all the bodies. And he is the one who controls everyone. He controls everyone, and more importantly, he is the controller of three modes of material nature also. When he says, Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. So he is saying, Maya Dakshena, under my supervision, material nature works. So he is above three modes of material nature, or we can also say he is controller of three modes of material nature. In the Smriti it is said, Dasa bhuto harer eva nanyasyaiva kadachana. The living entities are eternally in the service of the Supreme Lord. So, therefore, the description of Brahman mentioned in this verse is in relation to the individual soul. So, when the word Brahman is applied to living entity, it is to be understood it is Vijnana Brahma. And when it comes to Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's Ananda Brahma. So, what is the eternal Swarupa of the living entity? Eternal Swarupa or eternal constitutional position of the living entities, we are servants of Krishna. So, this is a very important point which we have spoken about in so many different videos of Shloka Day series. This has to be understood very clearly. This is the problem that we all are facing. We are artificially trying to be masters, but actually our position is to be servant. And when we are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, this is the prayer that we are offering to Radha and Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. O energy of the Lord, O Srimati Radharani, O Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, please engage this servant of yours in your eternal loving devotional service. This is the prayer that we are offering. So with chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we will revive our original identity. We will get established in our constitutional position and we will be able to serve Krishna in that mode of servant. Now Krishna is continuing the same theme, but now he is going to elaborately speak on the second object of knowledge, that is the Super Soul or Paramatma. So let's see this from the next video. Hare Krishna.